What's up everyone, my name is Rosendo and we are back with another video, and today we are taking a look at how I made my most recent track, Atomos, from scratch. Because Atomos is an interesting track because it's really the only track that I have footage of how I made it from scratch. For those of you who don't know, Atomos was originally from a 1 hour challenge video I made about a year ago. So I have footage of how I started that track and I made it in 1 hour. And today we're going to be going over how I touched it up and kind of made it what it is today. So this video will be split up into two parts. The first part will be kind of cuts up footage of that 1 hour challenge, so you can see how I made the foundation of the track, how I made the foundation of Atomos, and you can see how I choose each sound, how I lay out the track, and pretty much how I get the basic roots of the track into my DAW. And the second part of the video will be me going over any changes I made, because while I have full footage of the 1 hour challenge and how I got from nothing to the rough draft of Atomos, I don't have footage of how I took it from where it was to the final finished product. So we're going to be going over any changes I made, any sound design changes, and anything I did to take the track from the final, from what it was at the end of the 1 hour challenge to what you hear on streaming services. So without further ado, let's get to it, starting with the 1 hour challenge and how I made Atomos from scratch. All right, so making a track in 1 hour. As you guys can see, there's nothing loaded up except for the audio, that's mixer track 50, but nothing here, no patterns, no anything, all empty. So that's what my challenge, that's what my baseline is gonna be. It's gonna be just a loop that I've never thought of doing anything with, that I thought sounded kind of cool. I can't really hear a track, but that's what I'm gonna be starting with. And this is what we're starting with. So let's do this. All right, 1 hour challenge, let's go. Now, I don't know if I necessarily want the track to start like this, but at least it'll give me an idea of where I want the track to go. And if I hear the rhythm, maybe the track will start to form in my head. That's good. Good enough, all right. Now I listen for a track. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Nope. Okay, I can live with that. All right, where are we? I need a Reese bass. I don't know why I just heard a Reese. Let's see, 9 minutes in to find some bass notes. This sounds right. All right, now I need a random atmosphere in E. Okay, I can kind of see it. Although we have one problem, which is, even then, this is the problem with loops. All right, cool. And we're taking a snare buildup. I'm not getting a buildup. Let's see, where are my buildups? Oh, we're bringing this over here though. Mandatory. I didn't even realize I needed to make a drop. I was just arranging. Again, I like arranging, but actually producing this drop is gonna screw me. I need a riser. I also want to add a bunch of fills right there to go into that, but like I really want some sort of sweep or reverse into this, but that's not going to happen. God.
God, now I need to make a drop. All right, super saws. And I need to find my super saws in Serum that I don't know where they are. Yeah, sure. God, this sounds awful. And I'm just gonna grab a random mid bass. I know I don't have time, but I need another super saw in here. There you go. I can live with this. All right, leads. All right, let's do this the easy way. I'm gonna trance lead. I really like trance leads. Sure. That's why I wanted this. Not the most organized, but. I gotta say, I'm not that big of a fan. We're gonna work with this one. All right, 20 minutes. Strings, of course. And you know what? Let's throw a riser as well. Which actually, I'm just gonna bring this over. And now I do want to choose a better preset because I do hear the track moving on like this. I'll take it. We just went dark out of nowhere. A random dark turn, and I'm all for it. Minutes. All right, I need to find one splice sample that I've never gotten. Here we go. This is exactly what I was looking for. Bring this. Bring this. Sure, why not? Let's listen to this. If I had more time, I would absolutely get the ARP out of this, but because I don't have it, I'm not gonna. There's no way I'm gonna do that by ear on time. So, Plan B, actually. Here we go. We're gonna drag you in. Okay, there's 2 more things I need to do that I need to do right now. There you go. That's one of them. Now we're talking. All right, we bring the Reese. Let's try this. Let's try this. This works. Yes, this. 30 mixer tracks. All right, I think we have time to do this. And I will take it. Let's see what we have going on.
Alright, and that brings us to FL Studio, where we can see the Atomos project file. Because obviously the track that you hear on streaming services doesn't sound too much like what I had at the end of the 1 hour challenge. It's pretty close, the kind of the foundational elements are there, but it was touched up quite a bit. So let's go through all the changes I made from what you hear at the end of the 1 hour challenge to what you hear in streaming services, starting with the intro, which is pretty similar. You have the Reese and you have the ARP. I believe these two samples are new right here that just add a little bit of atmosphere. So small things, but they make a big difference to kind of the atmosphere and the ambiance of the track. Big changes, you go immediately after 4 bars straight into the drums, where the biggest change is just this kick that we replaced instead of what the kick we had before. Sounds way different. Much better too. Drums are pretty much the same though. Into this area of the of the buildup, which is pretty much the same. And of course, another big difference is that in the buildup, you get the synths and the leads filtered. Starting with just the synths, you get a few more buildup drums just to give it, just to make it sound a little bit more full. Here are your leads right here. Into the drop, which does sound, I might say, drastically different, but it's pretty much the same foundation. So here you have your Atomos drop drums. Now in the beginning, you really only had the kick, snare, and the loop, which again does most of the heavy lifting in the drop. The difference is we add a few small fills to make the drops more full, but for the most part, you have your main drums right here that give it most of its rhythm. So a few more fills here. With, of course, the biggest difference in the drums is me adding this hi-hat loop that gives it even more rhythm. Now, if you saw the 1 hour challenge, you actually saw the part where I said that I wish I had time to add this hi-hat loop. So this is something that I would have added if I had more time. Everything else is just small fills that give it slightly more rhythm, as you can hear. But like I said, the main heavy lifting is done by the first 3 layers, the first 3 patterns, I should say. Now you have your basses. The sub and the mid, I believe, were there in the original, but there's an extra mid layer that gives it a little bit more grit. Starting with your sub, another mid layer, and one more. All sent to a bus, a little bit of distortion, a little bit of compression, not too big of a difference. Again, just kind of makes it a little bit more full. Now, of course, the biggest difference is just the sounds you actually choose for the leads and the synths. I believe you had 2 lead layers in the original version and 2 synth layers in the original version. Let's start with the synths, because your synths go from sounding what you heard in the 1 hour challenge to sounding like this. You have a main layer right here, another layer, 3rd layer, and one that gives it a little bit more transient. All sent to a bus with some reverb, OTT, a little bit of imaging for the width. And again, just kind of fills out the track a little bit more. And of course your leads, which did change drastically, sounding like this. Much cleaner than the original version, where you have a main lead, secondary, I believe this sound was there, tertiary, I believe this sound was there as well. These two, I believe, make up the most of what you heard in the original, with an extra main layer and a 3rd layer. Sorry, a 4th layer right here, giving you your lead stack. Quite a bit of processing, OTT, fresh air, more distortion, big reverb send, big delay as well. Before and after. So again, the biggest difference is going to be, at least sound design wise, is going to be the synths and the leads that just add a ton to the track. With your basses, you have this, and of course a few atmospheres that weren't there in the original that give you the full drop that we know that is Atomos. Everything else is mostly the same. You have a few effects that probably weren't here as well, some note rises, some crashes, all that stuff, giving you, leading you into the second verse. Here the track doesn't actually change too much because we have a few reverses on the vocals. We have the same ambience in the drop after the first drop that we had in the original. Your plucks are there, your Reese is there, your effects are there, and this is pretty much the same section that you know in the original. Sorry, yes, in the original, with the drums and the strings touched up a little bit more. You actually have more of a melody and a little bit more fullness. You just kind of touch up the strings a little bit. Again, the idea here is that in the original, the track is pretty much set. The idea of there being strings in this section are there, but you just got to touch them up a little bit, clean them up when you're making the full polished track. But in 1 hour, the general idea of the layout is there, where you had the strings in the 1 hour challenge. But here, you just touch them up a little bit. 2 layers here, give it a little bit more of a melody to it, and you get something like this. Again, 2 right here with the reverb. A little bit of OTT, a little bit of compression, a little bit of EQ. And again, a little bit more of a melody there, but much more full and much more cohesive. With the claps, again, very similar there. Pluck is there, nice tones out of the strings there. Into the second build-up, which I want to say is pretty similar. The claps get extended, that is one of the differences. You get the synths as well in the reverse, and you get kind of a little bit of a sharper build-up with, you know, dropping a few elements. Synth build-up, the snare build-ups come in into the second drop, where again you have pretty much the same elements as the first, right? Hi-hats are there a little bit more. The biggest difference, of course, is in the original, and if you saw the 1 hour challenge, you heard me say that if I had time, I would have gotten the bass notes, the pluck notes of the ARP from this sample right here and put them in the drop, but I didn't. This time I did. So you get the ARP that sounds like this in the second drop, which basically just follows the ARP from the sample. So again, just touched up a little bit more, a little bit of processing there, but nothing too drastic, giving you the second drop. Drums are a little bit more full, but for the most part, nothing too different here. And finally, the outro, which is basically exactly the same. You get the Reese, you get the plucks, strings come in. Again, they're a little bit more touched up, but nothing too different. If anything, I actually think it's the same strength preset, just the chords are different. Again, a nice note right here. Gives it a little bit more of a melody, reversed with the sounds, and your outro. Now, I'm happy you guys saw how I made the track from scratch. The biggest difference really just is in the sound design, where the leads sound like versus what you heard in the original, they now sound like this with 2 more layers and a little bit of processing. Again, just 4 layers. And your synths that sound like this. Again, just 4 layers, a little bit of processing, reverb makes a big difference as well. OTT, some compression, and a few things there. That's the biggest difference. I would actually argue the other biggest difference is this hi-hat right here, because it changes the rhythm quite a bit, versus all these drum layers don't really change the rhythm. This hi-hat does. So there you go. So here's a real quick before and after of the drops, where you get the original that sounded like this. And you get the final version that sounds like this. So there you go. 3 bass layers, 4 lead layers, 4 synth layers, a little bit of atmosphere there to fill in the gaps, and most of your rhythm from the drums was already there, save the hi-hats. And that is Atomos. That's how you make them from scratch. You got to see a little bit of all the bass presets, the synth presets, and the lead presets. A little bit of the atmospheres right here that you heard before, things like that you heard in the original as well. Some effects that kind of give you some transitional movement, but for the most part, you have the foundation in the 1 hour challenge, and this final version is just a touched up version of that 1 hour challenge. And there you go. That's how you make some melodic dubstep, some melodic bass, Atomos from scratch. Let me know if you guys have any questions. If you guys want a deeper dive into this track, let me know. It's actually one of the better sound design tracks out of my discography with the leads and the synths there. So if you want a deeper dive into each of the presets, most of them are presets, so it's not like I kind of made everything from scratch. But if you want a deeper dive into the actual sounds and the more sound design stuff, let me know if that's what you guys want, because I can definitely do that. But other than that, there you go. There's Atomos. Let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. Let me know what you think about the track. Let me know how you think it compares to the original version, and let me know if there's any other thoughts you may have. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But other than that, that is all I have for you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.